Should you throw the switch or not? That's the question. But it's not a very good question, especially when there are other options. And that's the part that people really don't want to consider when thinking about the trolley problem. What happens when you go outside of the prescribed box? And that's what we're going to find out today. Stay tuned. Welcome back to part 2 of the trolley problem video that we started last week. Fair warning, things are going to get pretty pointless today, which honestly isn't all that surprising because for a lot of things in philosophy especially, pointless is the name of the game. But I'm not really here to snipe at philosophy unnecessarily. It doesn't need any of my help to look ridiculous in a lot of ways. But we're just here to throw a bunch of switches, or not. Mostly not. So let's get right back to it. Oh no, a trolley is heading towards one of your first cousins. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing 3 of your second cousins instead. What do you do? Alright, well first off, I don't personally care about my first cousins. I don't remember if I've talked about them before or not. I think I may have, but I'm not positive. But they are pretty messed up. Let's just say that they are the result of terrible parenting and overactive egos. I haven't seen them in well over a decade now, and if I ever do again, which I really have no interest in, that's entirely fine with me. If a trolley rolled right over them, I doubt anybody on the planet would care. They are completely useless. On the other hand, I don't know if I even have any second cousins. My cousins on my mother's side, the aforementioned wastes of human skin, they never had kids, so nothing there. On my father's side, I know at one point I at least had 2, but they're both dead. So this is really kind of a stupid question, at least in my particular situation. Run them all over, I don't care. Now, I know that we're right back to just overthinking things, but any way you really slice it, given the information and the exact question asked, I really have zero preference. Move them all to the same track and let the trolley go. I don't care. So, as usual, I'm doing nothing. Now granted, this isn't exactly a good way to start off the video, but I've got no control over the questions being asked. In this case, 57% of people agreed with me, presumably because only one person died, but I think this would have been better to be asked without attaching specific people. Just say family members, not just cousins, family members, because I'm sure people can think of family members that they'd want to save. This just wasn't going to do it for me. Next one, 5 old farts versus a baby. Now, there is a lot of ways that you can look at this. You've got 5 old people who have lived whatever lives they've happened to live, but the tank, let's be honest, is almost empty anyhow, so who cares? Cultures used to kill off their elderly to make room for the young. On the other hand, though, babies are easy. Any fool can make a baby, and in fact, lots of fools do. A baby is a blank slate. They don't know anything. They don't have anything of substance to offer, and they suck up a lot of resources while offering nothing of value in return. Yes, I know the parents love babies. I mean, I love mine, but I'm trying to be objective here. So I'm going to go with my standard answer, just let the old farts die. They're not far from it anyhow. 76% of people agree. Now, granted, humans are programmed by evolution to look out for the young because without young people who grew up to reproduce, humanity is toast. However, I think it's interesting that the normal distribution here, kill the least number of people, was completely ignored for this one, most likely because of that predisposition. Now, if it had been anything but a baby, I'm sure the numbers would be switched. For me, though, I'm too busy out getting lunch. Let's see. In this one, I can get run over or one of my clones can get run over. Yeah, I still don't care. Still not pulling that switch, and I wouldn't even if our places on the tracks were reversed. Now, there is a certain amount of self-preservation involved. Most people don't want to die, which leads them to believing in silly religions and the like, but I'm honest enough to admit that I'm old, and while I haven't outlived my usefulness yet, and there are people who would miss me, I'm probably not making the world a much better place as I am right now or anything. Besides, how am I going to pull that lever anyhow with my teeth? It's too far away in the picture. In this case, I guess I can't go out to lunch, but maybe I can get it delivered. Here, 88% of people agree, which again violates the standard distribution because most people want to survive. And yes, some people are going to say, well, clones are just other copies of you. No, they're not. They might have my memories and personalities at the instance that they were formed, but thereafter, they become entirely different people living entirely different lives, and thus they get no special consideration whatsoever. Besides, I figure the world doesn't need more than one of me around, so there is that. Next! Mystery boxes! One might have 2 people, and the other might have 10 people. Well, they'd have to be some really, really small people, or they're just stuffed in there like cordwood, but I guess that's really neither here nor there. I'm assuming that they both could just have one person, although the question doesn't really say. Badly written question, sorry. But again, let's just let it roll. I'm getting hungry. I don't like to play the odds. It's actually kind of close to 50-50, which really, how could it not be? Yes, if you do take time to figure out the odds, you've got a 90% chance of splattering one person. Again, assuming there could be one person in there because the question doesn't say, versus a 50% chance of splattering another. But I still don't care. If you take actions, you are responsible for the deaths. If you just walk away, you're not. So, splatterino. 5 sentient robots versus a human. Well, I'm sorry, but robots can be rebuilt. Humans, at least with our current technology, which granted can't make sentient robots, but we're going to ignore that for the moment, they can't. But anyhow, I'm still not pulling a lever for the exact same reason that I haven't pulled it before, so let them die. 85% of people agree with me, although probably not for the same reasons. Well, though I don't know, though, I could be. Who knows? One thing that I have kind of noticed here, though, and yes, this is just a random thought, random observation, is that the number of votes for each question, they seem to vary, don't they? Which I don't know that I really understand. So I went back and I looked at the last question, which was 4.4 million votes, more or less, and this one is 4.3 million. Are people just bombing out of the test? There's no way to pick and choose which questions you answer, because if you don't answer, you don't move on, and you can't just pick none of the above, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on this moving forward. My mind just notices weird things. Three trolleys versus one trolley. Okay, first, I don't care about the money. You probably shouldn't park your expensive trolleys on the tracks where they can just get run into. Secondly, let's be honest here. One trolley isn't going to be able to plow through 3 trolleys. Physics doesn't work that way. It'll hit the first one and stop, causing little damage to the second and probably none at all to the third. So you're going to get one trolley crashed into in either case, so once again, I'm just not pulling that lever. I just want to see if I'm right. 22% of people agree, which leads me to believe that 78% were paying attention, or they weren't thinking, or they don't like watching stuff go boom. So yeah, whatever, I don't care. I don't know what this is even supposed to mean, so let's just move on. Oh good, an environmental question. Hard pass. Now, I'm still going to do nothing, but I'm kind of curious about the results. 5 people in the scheme of things is nothing, especially over 30 years. In 2023, 61 million people died worldwide. There were 134 million babies born. So I'm not going to cry over those 5 people who died a little more quickly than they might have. I mean, we need birth control, people. Enough is enough. And of course, this got answered emotionally by most people, with 61% of people disagreeing with me. Now, there are other considerations. First, you don't think they're not going to just build another trolley, thus negating the whole act? Secondly, what about the people who ride that trolley? I mean, never mind the people who may or may not have been on it when you just ran it into a wall, but what about the people who rely on that trolley every day to get to work or to go to school, or who need it to get to the hospital? Although, who rides a trolley to the hospital? I don't know. But what about them? You've destroyed their only means of transport, and now they're going to die, or whatever. That's probably a little bit, yeah, okay. They're going to suffer. I hope you're proud of yourself, you monster. This is just getting stupid, though, so let's move on. You're reincarnated into everybody.
Oh no. Anyway.
Beyond the fact that reincarnation isn't real, the same thing goes for reincarnation as it does for cloning, it's not you. Therefore, this doesn't matter at all. It just turns into the original trolley problem, and as I did in the original trolley problem, I'm not going to be pulling any levers. "48% of people agree with me. Now, I don't remember what the original figure was way back at the beginning of the last video, but I can't really imagine it should make much of a difference, although, let's be honest, most people who are answering the trolley problem, they're not thinking about any of this rationally. This is a prime example of being overly emotional in action. Lots of people are like that, and I'm just not. Reincarnations of me or otherwise. If anybody wants to go back to the last video and find the figure for the very first problem and post it in the comments, that would be great. No matter what you do, nothing happens. So, what do? Nothing. What a complete waste of time. Besides, here they admit that there actually is a trolley driver. And I think I brought that up last week, so no matter what, especially that brick wall example previously, if you smash that trolley into the wall, you're going to kill the driver. Nobody thought of that, did they? And I'm not going to waste my time on this, so, you do you, I guess. Here I don't really think it matters who agrees and who disagrees. It just shows that 64% of people are complete dicks, which I guess isn't much of a surprise. Remember, this is just a prank on the driver, and assuming there are passengers, you're just screwing up their day because you were bored. You've now sent them somewhere they didn't want to go, so, fuck off. You can kill a good citizen, whatever that means, or a litterer. Now, first off, I don't think calling someone a good citizen without clarification matters. Good in what way? Good according to who? Because there's a lot of people out there who claim to be good that I think are just pricks. And a litterer? That's kind of dumb. If they'd said a murderer, then maybe. But that's a matter for the courts, not for some idiot on the side of the road with a switch. So, once again, I'm doing absolutely nothing. I would need a whole lot more clarification before I change the course of events. There's an awful lot of people out there who both trust the person writing these questions and who think that littering makes you worthy of death. Again, people who haven't thought about the actual situation, which I guess really isn't that surprising, is it? But then again, a lot of these questions are just getting silly. But we'll muddle through, as we always do. These questions, they're not exactly getting better, are they? The trolley is going to go around in circles forever unless you blow it up, killing everyone on board. Well, doesn't the trolley have brakes? Can't the conductor, whatever they're called, just stop the stupid thing and let everybody off? Besides, it's not like trolleys move so fast that people can't just, I don't know, jump off. This is a completely pointless question, and that's just ignoring the fact that eternity isn't even a thing. These people are just going to starve to death long before that. I mean, maybe I'd jump on and take people's lunch orders and just go grab them something from a local restaurant, maybe make a little money on the side, but let's be honest, this is really just dumb. So that's 58% of people who would just murder everybody on a slow-moving trolley that could easily just jump off if they wanted to. This is why I don't do these hypothetical questions, because they're always just dumb. Well, what would you do if this incredibly unlikely sequence of events happened that anybody with half a brain cell could easily get out of with no effort required? Go fuck off, won't ya? Go find something better to do with your time, because this is just stupid. Anyhow, there's just a couple more. The trolley versus your worst enemy. Well, I don't have any worst enemies. I don't even think I have any enemies, much less a worst one. What's the point? I don't hate people, even the people who really probably deserve it. I pity them because most of them are just stupid. So, would I save my worst enemy if I had one? No. And I love how they say that no one would ever know. Well, the trolley conductor would, right? He'd be running over the guy after all. He would obviously know that something happened, even if he couldn't find out why. They might not know that you did it because you didn't do anything. You didn't switch the tracks to kill your worst enemy. You just didn't save them, which, last I checked, isn't a crime. Nobody's going to look down on you, and nobody's going to even know you stood there and watched. Nothing says you have to save these people. So, no. Splat City. And it's about a 50-50 split again, which, okay, whatever. I don't really know how much there is to say about that other than the fact that we're down to 3.7 million votes, so let's just acknowledge that and move on. Okay, this one, I don't even know how the hell this works. Trolleys don't cause loss of lifespan. Yes, I know these are just hypotheticals, but have I said how much I hate pure hypotheticals? Besides, even if you did lower the lifespan of 5 people by 10 years each, that doesn't mean they're actually going to live that long, right? You know, cancer's a thing, accidents, you name it. You don't have a pre-programmed lifespan. You just die when you die. You die when shit happens. So again, I'm not doing anything because the question itself is just nonsensical. 64% of people disagree with me, which again just shows that people aren't thinking about the absurdity of the questions. Now, I know they're not supposed to, but I don't care. You have to think about the things that you consider, Otherwise, you're just being an emotional idiot, and that describes the vast majority of people out there. It's why the world is the way that it is. People just aren't bright enough to say, hey, wait a minute, when the stupid stuff goes by. You can kill 5 people now, or you can kill 5 people in 100 years. Well, ignoring the fact that time travel is not, at least based on what we currently know, even possible, what difference does it make? 5 people is 5 people. Now, maybe I can rationalize that in 100 years, they will have the technology that saves those 5 people. Maybe they have, I don't know, magic anti-trolley suits that they wear after the catastrophic trolley wars of 2099. But at the end of the day, I'm still not going to do anything. Those idiots shouldn't have been on the tracks in the first place. And 71% of people are idiots. I figure this is just, well, I don't want to kill anybody that I can see. Let people who I'll never know die instead. Now, I know that the trolley problem is, at its core, a moral conundrum. How would you deal with the situation if you were actually in it? Now, granted, these questions just keep getting sillier and sillier, but I am just not capable of turning off my rational brain. I have to look at these things and go, well, yeah. Because if it's not possible, then it's just not worth wasting my time on. Again, this is why I don't do these pure hypotheticals, because I've got absolutely no good reason to consider the consequences. And if I don't need to consider the consequences, I'm not going to. So take that as you will. Free will. Joy. Do you have a choice, or is everything predetermined? Well, obviously, you do have a choice, or you wouldn't be in the middle of this silly quiz, would ya? I would just not pick either option. I could go out to lunch and turn my computer off, which is what it looks like a lot of people are doing since the number of votes just keeps going down. So yes, I do have a choice, and I am exercising that choice by clicking on the button. Let's watch. Now, I don't know what running over someone had to do with the question, but I guess they had the animation already. Might as well use it, right? I just have to ask, of the 36% who disagree, why are they taking this quiz to begin with? Are they honestly not capable of getting up and going and doing something else? Oh, but I was predetermined to get up. This gets into bald rationalization territory, doesn't it? Which is exactly what we see in religion. It gets really, really stupid, and I've done these videos on free will before, so I don't really want to get into it again too deeply. But when you ask these people to justify their positions, with evidence, of course, they've got absolutely nothing demonstrable to say. They're doing absolutely nothing differently than the religious do. It's all just fifis in faith. And that's still just dumb. Hey, I only killed 85 people. That was pretty amazing. Well, actually, I didn't kill anyone because I didn't take any actions which resulted in the deaths of any of the cartoon figures on screen. I spent most of my time out at lunch, and it was good, yes. I am not morally culpable for any of it, which is why I did it the way that I did. Who would you rather kill? That's not a valid question in my mind. I'd rather kill nobody, and in what I did, mostly, I didn't kill anyone. Well, maybe one or two questions if I ever touched the switch, I might have, but I don't really remember, and for the most part, I just let the situation play out as it would have without any interference on my part. I have no obligation to save anyone. I spent most of my time out having a good lunch, and that's the way it went. I get lots of people who get upset at me for doing that too. But you're supposed to do something. Really? Says who? Because I have no obligation to do anything. I don't have to make lives better. That is not my responsibility. I'm just not making any lives worse, which for the people who would have theoretically died had I taken action, it absolutely would have been. I would have been responsible for their demise, but by doing nothing, I'm not. It would have been my fingerprints on that switch, whereas my way, my hands are completely clean. Plus, in many cases, the real solution would have been just to run down and untie the idiots on the tracks before the trolley arrived, because, they don't move that fast. Or just running over and flagging down the driver. Of course, these questions never take that into account, do they? And for somebody like me, who doesn't turn off their rational brain, I tend to think outside of the prescribed box. I don't care what you want me to do. I don't care what 2 options you've given me. Screw your options. I'm doing what I'm going to do. I care about how things can be most efficiently and effectively done. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but that's me. What do you think? If you took this quiz, how many people did you kill? Let me know down in the comments. I'm not really a fan of these kinds of things because I don't think it really tells us anything useful, other than that you can push a button or pull a switch or whatever from a limited supply available on screen and do what they want you to do. I don't do what people want me to do. I do what I think is the best thing to do, and that's usually not an option. Because the way that these are done, I'm not really interested, except as a means to show just how pointless it all really is. If I wanted to do pointless things, then I just look at religion, which, yeah, alright, if you excuse me, I really need to get back to that, don't I? So I guess I'll see you all next time.